And we talked earlier about teams that have unsettled quarterback rooms behind their starters. The Vikings are at the front of the pack. And when Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the team, said last week that the number 2 position is open, I guess we should have thought there's a chance it's going to be none of the above. And so far, it looks like the number 2 quarterback is none of the above. Sam Howell is dumped via trade to the Eagles. They just traded for him right around draft time, during the draft, actually, with the Seattle Seahawks. He had his chance. They decide to move on, and they add Carson Wentz, who had been available the entirety. Last year he signed with the Chiefs April 2nd and was there wire to wire as the backup to Patrick Mahomes. This year, available all the way until August 24. Vikings worked him out on Saturday, signed him on Sunday, and it looks like it's going to be him because they also cut Brett Rippon. So the depth chart right now is J.J. McCarthy, Carson Wentz, and undrafted rookie Max Brosmer. That's it in Minnesota, with 2 guys who had been there the whole way gone this weekend.
Yeah, pretty crazy, right? I mean, I think, one, the Sam Howell, he didn't impress when he was up there. And I think you couple that with maybe some decisions throwing the football, the interceptions, some other ones that probably made Kevin O'Connell go, ooh, wow, wait, I don't know if I really trust him here if he's got to come in the game and do that, let alone he's got a little reputation of holding the ball and turning the ball over as is anyways. Brett Rippon, smart, been around a little bit, got a little experience. But again, I don't know if he's talented enough to you want to go, wait, I want him to take over for our team that we kind of look at to be a real major player in the NFC. So that's where they go with Carson Wentz. They go with Carson Wentz as one. He's older, veteran type of guy, unlike the other 2 in Rippon and Howell, who can, be a good mentor to J.J. McCarthy, let alone, we know. I mean, Carson Wentz is playing a ton of football. He's played big game football, and even being the backup of the Chiefs, there's great experience there as well. And that's just going to make Kevin O'Connell feel better that somebody that's played a little bit, played big games, understands situations and whatever else, isn't going to be flustered. And when he does get in a groove, he can still throw the ball down the field and stand in the pocket like the big soldier that he is, right? So I think there's more positives with the Carson Wentz situation, and I understand Minnesota going that way there with a team that, I think you and I both look at as under the radar, sneaky playoff team that I wouldn't be shocked if they got to go and could win a game or 2 in the playoffs, maybe, with how they've set it up. So, yeah, smart decision by them in upgrading with Carson Wentz.
This is all about having someone you can trust to come in the event the starter gets injured. We saw Kirk Cousins exit midway through the season 2023, and the Vikings had to scramble, and they bumped up Jaron Hall, who was a rookie at the time. He got a concussion on the first drive of his only start against Atlanta.
Yeah.
In comes Josh Dobbs, who they scrambled to find right at the trade deadline, and we've seen Kevin O'Connell, when necessary, now in 2022, 17 games from Kirk Cousins, 24, 17 games from Sam Darnold, 23, it was that patchwork with 4 different guys starting. Eventually, Nick Mullins started when the Josh Dobbs magic wore off. But let's not overlook the fact, as you were talking about Sam Howell and his inability to take care of the football. Well, I've never seen Sam Howell throw a left-handed pass from his own end zone that was caught at the 1 by the defense. I mean, Carson Wentz had become the king of the what the are you doing moment in the NFL. And that makes me wonder whether this is just, we don't know what the hell we're going to do, and we need to do something. And it's not like guys are available. I just wonder how long Carson Wentz is going to be there. Sam Howell wasn't there for very long. I just wonder if Carson Wentz is a placeholder while they explore the trade market or whatever the trickle-down effect is going to be as the roster's cut from 90 to 53. And there may be guys who could be claimed on waivers or free agents that they're currently acting like they don't want because they don't have to trade for them. But maybe that's going to be part of this delayed effect, because once the rosters are set, the next 24 hours is all about teams grabbing this guy, and getting rid of guys they still have on their roster. It could be Carson Wentz is gone from Minnesota by Wednesday. That could happen.
Yeah, I would find that unlikely. I would, but either way, because even if they do maybe find somebody else that makes a little bit more sense or something of those lines, right? Well, why not have Carson Wentz there to be the 3 then? So what? I mean, I don't know, but maybe you're right. I don't think they made this move and this trade, though, not to keep him. At least it wouldn't seem that way to me. I understand what you're saying about Carson Wentz. We know he had some crazy turnovers and did some crazy stuff. In that year, too, though, let's not forget, it was 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, right? It was actually a pretty good year. It's just he didn't quite indoctrinate himself to the Colts, didn't get his shot, missed a big game late in the year because he didn't get his COVID shot, and they were in the playoff mix there, and then he played horrible. And when he did come back after that, they lost to the Raiders at home, right? So that adds to a bad stigma around Carson Wentz, but certainly hear what you're saying. But I still think the experience, the fact that he's got talent, right? I think he's probably realized, like, the days of him being a starter and a gunslinger and trying crazy stuff like that's done. He can't do that anymore, and he will not be in the NFL. And I would hope that he's matured that way, and that's something probably Kansas City did for him. So, yeah, I expect him to be the backup there, Mike. I'd be surprised if anything different happened now.
And when you think about it, the guy came into the NFL as the 2nd overall pick in 2016 behind Jared Goff. Both the Rams and the Eagles traded up into those spots. Wentz looked good right out of the gates. The fact that Teddy Bridgewater's knee was horribly injured maybe to the day in 2016. It was late August, right after a preseason game where he looked very good against the Chargers, I believe. It was that week in practice or not long after that. The knee went, and that was that. Wentz becomes the week 1 starter. Wentz looks great from the get-go. Wentz was an MVP candidate in 2017 until he suffered a torn ACL against the Rams in December. That opened the door for Nick Foles to deliver the team's first Super Bowl win ever. The NFL is just crazy. It's nutty. It's unbelievable how things happen. But Wentz comes back. They had to eventually choose between Wentz and Foles. They gave Wentz a market value contract at the time. He got his deal before Jared Goff got his with the Rams. And then 2020, after that season, they're just done with him. So he lands with Frank Reich, who had been with him in Philadelphia. Starter for 1 year. Somebody decided, and I think Frank Reich would have kept him around, frankly. No pun intended. But frankly, would have kept him around. I don't think it was his call. Wentz goes to Washington. Yeah. And he wasn't horrible with Washington. But after 1 year, his time as a starter ends. And remember, he was gone. He was forgotten. He didn't sign with the Rams until like November of that year.
Right.
And I think part of it is you want a backup who knows his place. You want a backup who doesn't walk through the door saying, I'm the best quarterback on the team, I should start. And last year in Kansas City, he was never going to be able to think that. Even himself, he's got to know, yeah, this other guy, this number 15 is probably better than me. You wonder, though, what that year of being... And he played some. He started the meaningless week 17 or week 18 game, excuse me.
Yeah.
But you got to wonder with that year of sitting and learning and watching Patrick Mahomes and being tutored by Andy Reid, what that may have done for him, which also makes me amazed that it took this long for someone to sign him. I thought the Browns were going to sign him. There were indications the Browns were looking at him in lieu of Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco. Yeah. I just wonder why it took so long for someone to sign him.
Well, younger and cheaper, right? Everyone tries to go that route first. Let's see if we can get our own guy in here that's younger, that we can develop through our system and make it work that way, right? You know, somebody maybe with untapped potential that we can tap into to now where he becomes not only part of our program, but he becomes an asset, and we've grown him, and who knows what he could be after that, right? Maybe trade bait, a backup for a long time, whatever. I think teams go that way a lot here. But when it becomes time of like, now, you're on the chopping block here, they resort back to guys like Carson Wentz where they go, okay, he's played a little bit. I could trust him. He won't be a deer in the headlights in the big football game, and that's why he's there. So, good move by them, certainly. And as we know, them trading Sam Howell to the Eagles, who have their own little situation, was interesting in the whole thing too.
Well, and we talked last week about how the Colts acknowledged their mistake with Anthony Richardson by benching him and going with Daniel Jones. The Vikings acknowledged that Sam Howell was a mistake. They did a flip-flop of fifth-round picks, so they didn't give up a huge investment by way of draft capital. They had the higher pick that went to the Seahawks in lieu of the lower pick that the Seahawks were holding. They acquire Sam Howell. They get from the Eagles a 5th-round pick next year, a 2027 7th-rounder, and Howell goes to Philly with a 6th-rounder from the Vikings in 2026. So it's just like what they gave up for him. It's a small bump in draft capital, and the Eagles get Howell. So the Vikings don't lose all that much, and they make the decision and they move on to Carson Wentz. Here's going to be the key, and this wasn't reported when the Vikings signed him, which tells me it's not all that much money. What are they paying Carson Wentz? How much money is Wentz getting on his deal with Minnesota? When we know the truth there, that will give us an indication of whether and to what extent it is full season or just a, hey, this is bargain basement, minimum salary, and everything that goes along with it, up to and including the very real possibility that you're not going to be here for very long. So the guarantee, we talked earlier about the Giants already giving $8.5 million to Russell Wilson. If the Vikings were already giving $8.5 million to Carson Wentz, we'd have heard about it by now, because Wentz's agents would have made sure that that was out there, that they got $8.5 million for a guy that hasn't been on a roster this year. So
I expect it to be the minimum. I mean, I do, or maybe just a little bit more than that, right? For a guy his age, what's the minimum? Probably 1.5 million,
1.3,
right,
something
okay.
like that.
Right.
Yeah,
I would expect it to be there. I don't think he could command much more than that. I think it's a guy that wants to keep playing. He knows that. He can't be a beggar. Beggars can't be choosers. And I think Minnesota looks at it and knows that as well. And that's why they made the commitment to him. But, yeah, I expect him to stay on the team. I don't know, Micah. We'll see where this all goes. But maybe you're right about that.
Back to what we were talking about earlier then. If you could have Carson Wentz or Tommy Gabagool as I'm Italian, so I can, not that, again, the Italians are the last ethnic group you can make fun of, so I don't even know why I feel compelled to say I'm Italian so I can say it. But
yeah,
between Wentz and Tommy DeVito,
I'm taking Tommy DeVito right now. I'm taking Tommy DeVito right now. I think Tommy DeVito's going this way. I mean, it's going upwards, right? I think he's only going to get better. I think he's hungry. He's young. I think he knows there's more that he can be on the football field. I think his talent is better than people realized. He's a good athlete. He was in a horrible spot. He's a smaller quarterback, right? And it's not good to be a smaller quarterback behind an offensive line that can't block ever. I mean, that's just the simple fact of the matter there. To where, yeah, if he got to a place like Minnesota that could protect him a little bit, man, he'd be one of those guys that could throw 25, 30-yard lasers on crossing routes too, right? I think he has crossed the line of being he's just a third stringer, he's cool, hey, forget about it, hey, he's on the practice squad, whatever. I think he's crossed into high-quality backup territory from what I've watched over the last few years, and especially this preseason, because he's been absolutely on his game this preseason, like played phenomenal.
I kind of like the idea of my countryman,
right,
my paisano
on your team
wearing purple.
Yeah,
I kind of like that.